Well, hello. Our dear guest is Mehdi Marafati, an executive officer and chairman in Peyman, a company providing infrastructure for payment in our country, like direct beats. And we are going to use and appreciate his comments and experiences here. Please welcome him with a round of applause. I like to ask, please have a round of applause for Mr. Marifati once more. Thank you. I would like to say hi to everyone here and everyone in attendance. I'm quite happy to be here. I'm quite happy, pleased to be here with you. I'd like to begin my speech about new technologies in financial field, and I like to also talk about some data we've gathered in Payman. Well, the key point that we have is that providing new technologies and new services in financial fields has distinguished fintechs and other businesses from the market. And this collaboration between startups and companies, companies active in providing infrastructure, providing services in payment, has brought about a lot of innovation for us. The key point that I want to discuss is that fintechs and startups have tried to, during these years, have tried to be more active in the user's experience field. You might have seen different companies providing similar services, but what distinguishes a company and a business in our fields is the on the basis of user experience for each of any of these companies and their services. And another key point that I'd like to point out is we need to be quite careful on this. Entering this market and fintech and user experience has never been this easy. Now we have different tools. Now we have AI, and this has facilitated a lot of services in Iran, made them easier. But the important thing is to accept this reality that when we want to provide services and provide tools to people, being distinguished and getting distinguished is quite important. So providing distinguished and customizable user experiences to the general public and to your customers is quite important, very important. You see widespread tools that are in the market, and you see them that they're providing similar services, but they're not as popular. So that's what I mean. The successful ones who are accepted by the public are customizable. So that's why it distinguishes them. Another thing that I've been seeing and I want to talk about is before in financial spheres and financial fields, when a service was introduced, we've all expected and waited for banks to provide them. But now things are different. People are not expecting banks to innovate or provide new services. These are fintechs that are providing new services and making innovations based around banking services. And in some instances, we've seen banks follow the lead of financial technology companies. these are services or things that have become a part of our lives. And if we talked about these things like 5 or 10 years ago, it would have been seen as weird, but right now we see them as everyday normal things. You Right now, an interesting thing that has happened and that really facilitated and developed fintech field was the phenomena of ranking customers based on their credit. Well, that act of counting and offering that service as a service that's being provided these days uh, established a more important and more interesting fact that we've all approximately are using it, which is the BMPL thing. Before ranking customers based on their credentials and credits, we really didn't bother ourselves with the idea of loans. If anyone wanted a loan, there would be a long process to go through. But now with the emergence of BPML technology, you could have a good amount of credit or good estimation of a person's credit using technology. And this is what I mean by distinguishing use of technology and innovation. Unfortunately, because of some restrictions and sanctions, we can't use some uh, services like Google Pay or wallets or digital wallets and other things. But these are things that are we are using the domestic alternatives of them. These are changes that we've seen so far, like PFMs that are on the rise and are becoming more trending. And once, if you wanted to manage your accounts and manage your financial, you would face a lot of challenges, like 5 or 6 years ago. But PFMs are things that are services that came from startups themselves. We had several domestic startups that offered these services. After startups, banks actually integrated these services in their apps, in their websites as well. People are not, that's the change we've been seeing. People are not waiting for banks to offer services. Banks are looking at, people generally are looking at startups for new services, which is something quite important and vital that I wanted to point out. Another thing that has been widespread in our field is embedded finance. It is mostly about providing apps and tools and applications with banking data for them to be able to offer more distinguished services. I think many of you have seen the option of direct payments in many apps and many applications. This is what I mean by embedded finance. Let's look at it more in detail. Um, let's go back to 2010. Those times, an important discourse was taking place and taking shape that was mostly brought about by big companies. Like they announced several things that they needed to central banking and central banking agencies, and just to most banks. Like they said that they needed something like future exchange in that we have in foreign stock markets as well. It was the first time that open banking gained any prevalence. And it was the same time that Salman Bank actually offered some services to the stock exchange market that made a new business of it. And since the introduction of open banking, a lot of new business banks also took shape, and it had positive reparations throughout the market. Banks also entered a lot of new markets and could net themselves a good amount of their income. bank someone in stock exchange markets, other banks in other markets as well. And they really entered these markets really quickly as well, which is important. And the big companies and businesses actually kept announcing and telling the banking system their needs, and this what started innovation in banking in Iran. And from that came the first sparks of open banking. And in the 2010s, open banking was quite important at that time. And the foundational idea behind direct beat, was based on open banking and its services. I talked about open banking's origins in Iran and what it meant for banks in Iran and their services. If I were to make an example from foreign countries, these challenges that we've been talking about were also existent in other companies in other countries. When they moved towards open banking, we saw that some scandals about selling data to companies on purpose. In Iran, there was examples that if people wanted to gain access to your account, they needed to access the Excel files you've had on their service, and after a while, they could have access to your data and stuff like that. Um these with open banking became less and less prevalent. The points of security really improved, and other things really improved in banking in general with the introduction of open banking. And every service based on what needs they had and what they needed could have access to their customer base's data with the consent of the user base and pertaining to what they needed from them. That's one of the examples of improved security. So let's go to direct debit, what I wanted to talk about from the beginning. The emergence of open banking really brought about the infrastructure for direct debit, and there were also businesses who started using these services, and they achieved an important thing happened at this time. The same thing that happened with the emergence of open banking and their acceptance by banks. When direct debit emerged, uh, it really transformed the business. It had a lot of positive effects on businesses. They discovered that using these new products and services could bring about new business lines that they could direct. An example I would like to say is never before open banking and direct debit you've heard of uh, policy insurance paid in installments. But after the emergence of direct debit, we've had now we have insurance plans that are paid daily and installments, and these are the changes and reparations that I'm talking about. And I believe they can truly transform business. And these new technologies, uh, based on direct debit, could change what our perception of banking itself. Let's get into finer details. We've seen a lot of changes that have come in businesses. Most of the time, businesses have clear objectives. Sometimes they look for loyalty in their customers. Maybe they look for more payments and more income in that. Sometimes they're looking for more creativity as a banking service. They use creativity to offer better services. These are things that we've seen during the last 5 years in businesses. V, based on statistics that Bazaar Pay announced last year through social media and LinkedIn and all of that. That's they're saying that's what business objectives are based on those information. As an example, I would like to say in companies where they use direct debit, uh, customer loyalty has increased a lot as well. And something that I want to point out is what's important in these circles is the increase of speed, how quickly you can do things. When you go to a website and want to buy something, the most amount of time you spend is usually around 60 to 70 seconds. That's something Bazaar Cafe or Bazaar has announced itself. But when these customers are people who are using a direct debit, that time of payment increases to 3 to 4 minutes. So you can just compare it yourselves how longer it takes. And this, unfortunately, requires cooperation from our bank system as well. When you go to a bank, most of the time their service is slow and they don't really, or they're not really effective, and they have various different excuses to that. But most of the time, when a customer is paying, uh, if they do it through direct debit, it is faster. Even though that's not the case in Iran. Another thing that we've helped businesses with is predicting the liquidity or the amount of liquidity that they're going to face. Businesses nowadays know customers that pay through direct debit are more likely to be on time with their payments. As an example, imagine that that someone has paid or has gotten an insurance policy or pension, and they need to pay uh, in 2 weeks or every other 2 weeks. Most people know who are not using direct debit would do that on the last 2 weeks of the month. But that's not the case on direct debit customers. Direct debit users are more often than not on time, and that's something that can lower costs for companies and make things more convenient. And that's another service that we provided for companies and businesses. But what about the benefits of this for customers? Well, customers can now pay faster and don't waste too much time, and most of the time they can do it with one click. If you've ever activated direct debit for a Snap, you never really thought about running out of charge or having a conversation on the Snap vehicle. And sometimes, even though you have to pay up at the latter end of the car ride, and that's also very annoying always. But if you have activated direct debit on your Snap, you never need to worry about things like that. If the driver accepts your journey and your travel, it is automatically paid to them. They don't need to. There's no hassle. It would save time. It is basically the customer giving permission to access the account with designated limit to a designated limit to the number and the amount of money that a company can take out. That would also help the matter of security. You no longer need to take out your debit card and look at it in a public place, and you don't give. No one can look at your phone debit card like that. And more important than all, I guess, is it would prevent you from forgetting things. We all have different bills that we have to pay like bills of water, the gas bill, and stuff like that. This could prevent that. We would never forget these things. Direct debit really helps customers in that regard. And also, it would improve the credit of that person because you never forget things, and it would help you taking out loans and things of that nature. So yeah, these are the positive points of direct debit. Let's wrap it up. Compared to traditional ways of doing it, direct way has a lot of positive points and advantages both for the customer and for the company involved. An important thing that I'd like to stress further is the business or the new business lines that could come into play here. We've had automated investments in cryptocurrencies. We've had other types of effects in the gold market, in the stock market. And it is a new kind of innovation because you were never able to set up an AI and command it if, for example, the price of gold reaches this, buy this from this account, and now that's something you can do. And with my explanations that I've gave, you can also see them on the board as well. A lot of customers can now, well, they get paid on the first day of the month, and they want to pay for something from that on the first day. But now it is something you might forget. But now uh, you can do that using direct debit. Yeah, it's something that you want to do every month at the first day of the month, but now you never need to worry about it because direct debit takes care of it itself. We've talked about BNPLs. BNPLs are now using our services, and this itself has increased their loyalty in customers and also has helped their customers to be more punctual. And also, there's an important underlying message here. Well, we've produced the service of direct debit, but there's a large number of transactions that cannot take place because there might not be enough money in the customer's accounts, and that has led to the invention of something we call overdraft, which is basically a service that allows you to pay for something or get something and through direct debit, but even though you might not have enough money for it in your bank account, but that's something that is not finalized yet, and we're working on it. But we hope it becomes something that you use in your everyday life as well. Subscription based businesses are also companies that use our services a lot. You've seen a lot of VODs that are popping off and trending these days, and people are using them. For some of them, this direct debit has been so appealing to them that they are now offering discounts for their customers who use or direct debit. And in their services, it has the most amount of discounts for it for paying through direct debit, which is something very important for businesses. And from statistics and data we've gotten from Namava, uh, it increased the amount of money, the amount of time a customer would stay for. Uh, it increases from 1 month to at least 8. We last year we did a survey. In the survey, we saw that the general public for their online payments, and online purchases, we wanted to know what categories uh, do they use online payments in, and we saw that buying. You can see it on the screen, the amount of money and the amount of percentages of categories of people's payments online, and all of these are used, and they can be done through direct debit, and that's why I believe it's very important to have this, and I believe I am. I'm telling you all this. I hope you all use it in the future as well. It is quite the important thing and quite convenient thing for everyone. Another point that I like to dedicate this segment to is most of the businesses that I talked to you about also have there's offering the service of digital wallet in their own ecosystems, which can be used in debit card, direct debit card payment as well. You can automatically charge them at the beginning of the month or at a designated time. When we started using direct debit in the last few years, we knew that it's going to be a hard road ahead. But the more we continued, we saw that the enjoyment that direct debit generates in our customers is quite tangible. And because of my field of expertise and my job, when I have to talk to a few customers, and I've heard this a lot. People come to me and complain, why don't they have these services in this app and that app? Because they've been using direct debit for a lot of things. They find out they are comparing this app and that app for the option of direct debit, and they call and ask, please allow us to have direct debit on this or make this option available on this app and stuff like that. And that's what makes me believe that direct debit can actually become an enjoyable way of payment for the general public. Thank you everyone for listening.